No doubt about what the big game in the Premier League is this weekend as Manchester City play host to Tottenham on Saturday evening. And we've got Bobbie Jackson and Tom McGarry either side of me who are going to face off arguing who is going to come out on top in this game. Bobbie is going to be talking up the champion City and Tom is going to be arguing the case for Spurs. Let's start with round one then. Who is going to win this fixture? Both of these sides won on the opening weekend of the season. City, though, start as 3-8 favourites. Phenomenal home record last season in the league, winning 18 of 19 matches, Bobbie. And on paper, very difficult to look past them.
Yeah, exactly. And on the field as well, very difficult to look past them. They are the champions, as you say. Tottenham yet to pick up any silverware under Pochettino. They might have got to the final of the Champions League dramatically last season, but I think they still struggle in these big games. Certainly at Manchester City, you think back to that Champions League tie, a 1-0 win at Tottenham, but back at the Etihad, City won it on the night, even though they went out. And I just think when you look at the goal score between these two sides as well, there's only 9 goals scored by Tottenham in their last 9 visits to the Etihad Stadium. In that time, Manchester City have scored 24. They're free scoring. They've got such a deep squad as well, so many players to pick from. I think it makes it tough for Pochettino going into this one. He doesn't know what 11 he'll be facing, and I fancy City to breeze through it.
Well, Tom, you're already on the ropes because City are so good at home. Tottenham 8-1 to win this fixture. Their record against other Big Six sides away from home isn't great. The draw is 79-17. Is that the best they can hope for?
I'm not sure. I think they've got to go there and realistically believe they can go on and win the game. 8-1 is really tempting odds anyway. But this is a different Tottenham team to the one we've seen in this fixture over recent seasons. They're now a side that have reached the Champions League final. They had a really good pre-season, beating Real Madrid and Bayern Munich to win the Audi Cup, which you can argue isn't technically a major trophy, but it is a piece of silverware, and that will help build the confidence of the side. I think we saw against Aston Villa in the second half last week. They have a winning mentality. They don't mind if they go behind. They believe they can come back and really beat the majority of teams. And I think they've got to have a realistic belief they can go to City and win. They've done it in the not too distant past. 2016 was their last win at the Etihad. And of course, they've got the positive memory of, despite losing in the Champions League, second leg of that quarter-final tie, they still went through. So it would have felt like a victory. So for me, I think particularly, again, if we mentioned those 8-1 odds, Tottenham have got to be very tempting.
It is a big price for a team like Spurs, who are title contenders, to win this match. But I've got to go with City here. I think they are the stronger team going into this fixture. Moving on to round 2 then, and who will score first? Well, City were free scoring, as you mentioned, against West Ham. They've got Sterling in fine form, a hat-trick already, and Kevin De Bruyne likes this fixture as well, Bobbie, so lots to choose from going into this.
Yeah, he does. I think Sterling would be my standout bet to score first in this game, just down to the fact he's already got 3 for the season. He's up and running, and he has scored previously against Tottenham as well. He's 4-1 to get the first goal in this match, so quite a good price on the England international. You mentioned Kevin De Bruyne. He scored 3 goals in previous games against Tottenham, so he's another one to really be considering. He's at 9-1 to score the first goal in this match. And I mentioned City, a free scoring side, that the highest scorers in the country, in the Premier League over the last few seasons in the country as well with that. And Tottenham, for me, I think they've still got issues. We saw last week there was a bit of confusion at the back against Aston Villa, allowing John McGinn to get through and score a goal. They look a little bit rocky. Alderweireld has been playing in there. He wants away. Danny Rose is playing at the back. He wants away. They've got injury issues as well and suspensions that are problems. So I think City at the moment just more settled, and I can't see Tottenham keeping them at bay.
Tottenham then, they've got plenty of firepower themselves. Tom, Harry Kane has firmly broken his August hoodoo now with a couple of goals against Aston Villa. And Christian Eriksen, who looked really good when he came off the bench, also enjoys this fixture, so they should have plenty to choose from when it comes to finding the back of the net.
Absolutely, and you mentioned the August hoodoo for Harry Kane. Now he's got that off his back, and I think the link-up between himself and Christian Eriksen could be really key. Kane was struggling in the first half against Aston Villa when Eriksen wasn't on the pitch. He was trying to do 3 jobs at once, if you like, going out wide, dropping deep, and playing the striking role. Once Eriksen came on, it freed him up to play as the number 9, and lo and behold, he goes on and scores 2 goals, and he's 8-1 to score the first goal in this game. And that's really large odds. I don't think you'll get odds bigger than that on Harry Kane in any other Premier League fixture this season. So that alone makes it tempting. My other slighter indication is that Spurs will probably have the better of the fair share of set pieces, free kicks and corners. So you could look at potentially one of the central defenders, Toby Alderweireld, Davinson Sanchez. They're both as high as 80-1 to score the first goal in the game. It wouldn't surprise me an early corner and a free header. You know, City aren't that strong defensively themselves. Their centre-backs aren't that big. So that's a bit of an audacious one, if you like, if you wanted to go for one or two of them. But Harry Kane's really the tempting one there for me.
80-1 is very tempting, I have to say, but I'm going to have to give it to Bobbie again that round to go 2-0 up, just because City made so many fast starts last season. So moving on to the final round then, and a chance for Tom to get a consolation point back in the face-off. The final round is the total number of goals. Now, this fixture last season, these two sides met 4 times overall. 3 of those meetings finished 1-0. Are we going to see more goals than that? As City are at home, they do tend to score a lot at home. What do you think, Bobbie?
Yeah, I think so. 4-9 I'm looking at for 3 or more goals in this game. And that's down to the fact, as I mentioned earlier on, that City have scored so many goals when they've been at home against Tottenham. In the Premier League, I think in League Cup and FA Cup games it has slightly differed. But certainly in the Premier League, they seem to hit the back of the net. I'd even be looking at Manchester City at to win 3-1 in this game at 11-1. I think that looks really tempting for me. I fancy Spurs to get on the score sheet at some point, but just Manchester City to have far too much for them in attack in this game.
And what about you, Tom? Can you see it being quite a high-scoring affair, even though there were quite a lot of tight meetings last season?
Yeah, I tend to agree with Bobbie in terms of the 3 or more goals looks a tempting price. You mentioned those tight Premier League games, but we had the 4-3 in the Champions League at the Etihad, and I think both sides are better at the moment going forward than they are defensively. We saw Spurs struggle last week against Aston Villa with their defence. You'd fancy City to score, but also Spurs' firepower going forward suggests to me they're more than capable of registering at least a couple of goals in this game, particularly as we mentioned earlier on, if Eriksen starts. And the last time they won at City, they got themselves a couple of goals with Eriksen and Kane both getting on the score sheet. So I do think it'll be quite a high-scoring, entertaining game. I think because it's near the start of the season as well, perhaps the shackles are off a little bit more, not quite as pressure intensified as it may be towards April-May time when they're both fighting it out for major competitions. So I think it could be a really entertaining, high-scoring game with obviously Spurs getting the win in the end.
Well, there we go. I will give that one to Tom then, but both the boys agreeing that it should be an entertaining Saturday evening at the Etihad Stadium. So Bobbie and Manchester City win the face-off on this occasion. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for all of our latest videos, and also check out our social media feeds to keep up to date with all the latest news.